We're good?
Yes. Thank you, Will.
Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the City of Monona Plan Commission, Monday, March 8th, 2021. You can call the roll.
Chair Moore.
Here.
Alder Goforth.
Present.
Mr. Homburg.
Here.
Ms. Fox.
Here.
Ms. Fallett.
Here.
Mr. Stein.
Here.
Mr. Peterson.
Here.
And Mr. Holmquist, I'm not sure I've seen him join, as absent.
Okay. Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 22nd, 2021?
Move approval.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any corrections, changes, additions? No? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Carried. Doug, do we have anyone here for appearances this evening?
I have not received any requests, but I see a couple folks here that may be interested in appearing.
Okay, if you're here to appear this evening, if you'd like to say something this evening in the appearance section, if you're here to speak on an issue that's already slated for a public hearing, you can wait until that time. But if you're here for some other issue, some other item of concern to the Plan Commission, you're welcome to make an appearance now. Could you please let us know by speaking up?
This is Mark Ertel from the Four Lakes Yacht Club. I'm just here to listen in on the meeting and answer any questions. We are slated to be on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else here to speak again on something that we don't have a public hearing on tonight? Okay. Hearing nothing, then we'll go ahead and close the appearance section. Go to number 5, unfinished business. Public hearing on the request by Wisconsin Physicians Service, WPS, represented by DLR Group, for approval of a revised landscape plan at 1765 West Broadway, case number 2-002-2021. Who would like to speak from the DLR Group this evening? Scott, I think you're on mute if you're trying to say something.
Sorry about that. I'm Scott Meyer with Ayers Associates. DLR is not on the call tonight since the agenda item is more landscaping related. So
Okay.
I'm here and Bruce Morrow is on the call as well. He's the landscape architect. And what we, I believe in your packets, or do you want me to share my screen?
That would be great if you could share that.
Okay.
It's coming in through here, I think.
Let's see. From our last meeting, can you also, is it showing up on your side?
Yes.
Okay. From our meeting the last time, there was some discussion about adding some additional plants to help screen the loading area and the utility yard. And we've added some trees in front and we've added some base planting. There was some discussion about, we didn't know, the architecture for the screen wall was well received. So we all we did was do some base planting along the base, so you can still see the screen wall through through some of the trees that you'd see. So help screen it, but still make it visible so you see the architecture. And then in the stormwater pond area, we've added a few more trees to help screen the in the little bulb area here. We've got a couple of trees to help screen the loading dock area, as well as we've added a couple more trees along on the other side of Ingle Street.
Okay, great. Anything else, Scott, that you wanted to add, or that either of you wanted to add related to the plan?
We also added, this is Bruce Morrow from Ayers, we added evergreens along the west side of the building too, Scott. Remember all those? evergreens and other trees up through there. We
Yeah,
added those trees through there.
Great, great. Thank you. Is there anybody else here that would like to speak? This being the public hearing portion this evening. Is there anybody else here that would like to speak specific to the landscaping that's before us? Okay. That being the case, Scott and Bruce, unless you have something else to add, we'll close the public hearing portion.
okay, we're just here for any questions.
Okay, great. We'll close the public hearing and move to 5B, consideration of action on the request by Wisconsin Physician Service, WPS, represented by DLR Group, for approval of the revised landscape plan at 1765 West Broadway, case number 2-002-2021.
Chair Moore, I'll be recusing myself.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. Let's see. Josh, would you like to start?
You bet. I think overall, just a kudos to the team. You've doubled the landscape points. Love all the additional canopy trees as well as the evergreens. I did notice that there is no reference to an e-bike charger or infrastructure. I know we had talked about that briefly, but I did see the addition of the electric vehicle charging stations. And I know we're talking about landscaping, but it was
Right.
kind of captured in some of this. So I did want to ask about that. Is there any plan to pursue that?
Want me to go? So as part of this plan, it doesn't show up well on this site plan, but what we're going to do, and it hasn't been completely programmed yet through the building, but some of the changes that we did make is we did put the bike stalls over here, and it's through a landscape area. So once we figure out the program of how many bike stalls and e-bikes, this could easily be expanded to accommodate those without any kind of infrastructure problems with streets or anything like that. So we placed them in this corner, and then the electric vehicle stations, we have them planned for, we're going to have the signs, and we're going to have the conduits run through the foundation so that it's coming up through this landscape area. And from that, we could route some power over to these e-bike locations as we figure out how many and what the actual infrastructure is needed for it.
Great, thanks. That's all the feedback I had, Chair Moore.
Great. And with apologies, Doug Plowman, I would, could you jump in? Once again, it's when I've got, when I don't have the whole crew on screen, I'm afraid I forgot again. So Doug Plowman, would you like to go ahead with your report, please, first? And again, with my apologies.
Not a problem. I'll just give a quick overview. I think a lot of it was already discussed. With regards to the landscaping, as mentioned, the points pretty much doubled from the previous landscape plan that was presented at the last meeting, including the addition of 9 more canopy trees. A lot of those located on the west side of the building, as was suggested for screening, in addition to additional screening by the utility yard to the south. I did discuss with the team about the electric vehicle infrastructure, both the sort of electric car charging as well as e-bike facilities. And as mentioned, the conduit is going to be there on the north side and sort of gives them flexibility to potentially install that, the systems themselves at a later date. As mentioned and as required as part of the zoning permit, I think 4 bike racks were proposed, allowing for parking for 8 sort of standard bicycles. And that's on the just north of the ADA parking there on the easternmost side of the building. We also have, so that covers the sort of the landscape plan components, and the staff recommendation there is for approval. We also have Darren Pope on the line, and it wasn't necessarily a part of the landscape plan, but there's still been discussion sort of about the stormwater and elements of that. So I'd included that in the packet as well. And I've asked Darren to join us tonight, and if I may, just have him sort of give a brief overview of where the stormwater is. There's been sort of a couple new developments now, so I was just going to ask him to give kind of an overview of where that stands as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Doug. Go ahead.
Sure, thanks, Doug. So since the last meeting, I did get a set of revised plans and have reviewed them. And most of the items were minor. I guess the one thing that I would point out was that the city's ordinance requires that for infiltration, that any stormwater that's coming off of paved areas that could have sediment load, that it's pre-treated before it goes into the infiltration areas. And Scott called me today and we talked about that. And they put the filter on the discharge side of the pond. So in effect, that's not going to provide any sediment control to eliminate that sediment from coming into the pond, and could potentially clog the pond and not allow infiltration. So what Scott was able to do is take a look at the amount of infiltration that's needed, and he excluded out the pond area and found that the remaining pervious area was still sufficient enough to get the stay-on volume that's needed for the infiltration. So what he's proposing right now is to keep the filter on the discharge end of the pond, and then otherwise you'd have to have two filters, more expense, more maintenance. And so what the calculations proved out is that they actually don't need to have the pond area available for infiltration. The other pervious areas will provide the infiltration that they require. So I thought that was reasonable then to not have to require them to put in two filters, since they're proving through the modeling that infiltration will be sufficient without the pond. If that would lessen the infiltration rate because they're not having the filters upstream of it. So I think that was the major thing. Everything else, I think Scott had mentioned it was workable to address the comments that I had. So I don't know, Scott, if you want to add anything to that.
Yep. Yeah, that was kind of the bigger questions that we worked through, and the rest of them were pretty much minor little tweaks on the detailing and some of the elevations and grading corresponding with the right rim elevation. So easily to work through on those.
Great, thank you. Anything else, Doug?
No, that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now that I've right-sized things, Josh, do you have anything else you'd like to add around the stormwater?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay, all right, thank you. Brian Holmquist, do you have anything?
No, I missed the first time you guys came, so I got to read the minutes and kind of go back and watch the meeting, and it looks like everything has been addressed. And thank you very much. Looks good.
Thank you. Chris?
I think it looks great. Thank you for addressing the concerns, and the stormwater solution seems more than reasonable for what they're doing and all the grassy surfaces and everything else that water is running through. So I don't see that as any issue.
Okay. Great. Christy?
Yeah, I think it really looks great. I really appreciate the addition of all the trees. I only had one question. I was wondering what the dust control measures will be.
Are you talking during construction or post?
During.
During construction, and most of the parking lot's already there, so it's going to be kind of existing. And as the building's going, I mean, obviously the buildings, I'm not sure if these are tilt up or not. I think they're cast in place walls, but there's not a whole lot. So the runoff, we're probably planning on bringing the pond, build the pond first. So that, and since we don't have to worry about that being as an infiltration basin, it can work as a sediment basin to collect any kind of runoff there to help on the treatment side. And then there's not a whole lot of landscaping. The construction area is only 2.9 acres. So once the areas get established and they won't be in there for construction, I mean, they'll be able to permanently seed and get things going.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I think it looks great. Thanks for all your responsiveness.
Okay, thank you. Susan Fox?
Nothing to add. I think it looks great also.
Okay. Maureen?
Looks great. Thank you.
Okay. I too would like to thank the team, Scott, and Roots, for all the work that you put in, the responsiveness from the last time you were here. Do I have a motion?
Move approval of the amended landscape plan as presented.
Okay, do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, nice work.
Thanks.
Welcome back, everybody. Now I'm going to move to item number 5C, public hearing on the request for Four Lakes Yacht Club, represented by Dimension 4 Madison Design Group, for approval of a zoning permit for building renovations at 6312 Inland Way, case number 2-004-2021. Who's here from Four Lake Yacht? Chris?
I have to abstain.
Yes, thank you, sir. Josh?
Yeah, I have to abstain as well.
Thank you, sir. Who is here from the design group to present for Four Lakes?
My name is Jared. Go ahead. I'm Jerry Berkman with Dimension 4, and also Bjorn Halson is here from our office also to kind of give you a little update on the project. And I think Mark actually was here earlier from the Four Lake Yacht Club. He mentioned he was here for the project.
Perfect. Do you want us to, would you like to share the screen? Give us any updates?
Maybe I just kind of give you an update, and Doug can probably use the screen. But when we were here last time for the initial review, actually the the formal entrance they're creating for the building, the addition of windows, that front porch, those things seem to be very well accepted for the project. And we're still proceeding with those, adding the stone material, the concrete siding, get away from the concrete block type of building and create actually more of a club with a very formal front door, with a front porch on the parking lot side, as well as then also a formal porch or a front area onto the riverside also. So we're carrying through with all those, and I think it'd be a great addition to the whole area that's being redeveloped there. There were like 3 or 4 other things that were brought up that'll be eventually part of the approval. One was, and I'll let Bjorn touch on these, one was lighting kind of out on the boat kind of storage area and on the building. And we don't have the final lighting plan, but we do have a submittal, and Bjorn can show you just on the character we're trying to do. And it will meet all your lighting requirements. They just aren't at the point yet that we can submit it, but we will submit that prior to doing that. Also on landscaping. Now, the building does have actually some considerable landscaping there that was done when the street was redone. So kind of out along the street edge and also in front of the fence area. There are also natural landscaping in that area, as well as there are tall landscape elements along the, I'll say the wall area next to where we're putting new entrance. And our goal is to try and maintain those as much as possible. If they do get damaged, we'll replace those, because they're nice vertical elements and kind of screen that whole blank wall and kind of screen the area over near the mechanicals and kind of help create that focus onto the front door they're looking for at that point. The fence on the parking lot, or not the parking lot, the boat storage area, that is going to be a black coated chain fence on that area. There is barbed wire in the top right now. We're replacing that fence and getting rid of that to be more of a friendly type of fence on that. So it will be a little bit shorter than what it was before, but it's still approximately the same height. And Bjorn, are you there? I missed anything. Okay.
I'm here. Yeah, no, I don't have a whole lot to add. I think on the fence, we will be taking away the barbed wire element. That'll decrease the height of the fence from about 7'6" to 6 feet. And we are proposing to have a sort of a screen mesh for sort of privacy screen at the existing trash enclosure. The existing trash enclosure is actually sort of wedged between an existing AT&T sort of shed building and the boatyard. So it isn't particularly visible at the moment, but we will do everything we can to keep it out of sight.
So no, I think actually, hopefully this meeting will go well tonight, and we're anxious to get started with the remodeling to get things going here during the boating season.
Okay, Great, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in the public hearing portion of this evening? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and go to 5D, consideration of action on the request by Four Lakes Yacht Club represented by Dimension 4 Madison Design Group for approval of a zoning permit for building renovations at 6312 Inland Way, case number 2-004-2021. Doug.
Thank you. Very little else to add from what the applicant has already mentioned. I would just point out, I think each of the items that were discussed at the pre-hearing have since been discussed and addressed, and certainly, you know, the photometric plan was added as a suggested condition of approval there. I would also just point out the Public Works director comments about particularly about Inland Way and just sort of construction traffic and things like that. So again, that was put in there as potential condition number 3 as well. So with that, staff recommends approval with conditions as laid out in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's just Rob.
Sorry, cut out for a second. I'll be quick. I don't have a whole lot to say other than I think it looks good. Hasn't changed a lot since the first time we saw it. I'm glad the fence is getting addressed. I like the screening measure. So it's good to see and look forward to watching construction proceed. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Susan?
I would agree. I think the few minor things that have been brought up have all been taken care of. So I think it looks great.
Great.
Nothing to add.
Is she cutting in and out for other people too? Or is it just me?
Yes.
Sorry, that was I cutting in and I can't tell. It looked like everything was fine on mine. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it working? Okay. I don't have anything to add either. I think it looks great. I appreciate the few minor things that were addressed and it looks ready to go.
Okay. Great. Christy?
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch this happen. So glad you're invested in your building. If you were ever interested in putting a mural on that blue wall, give me a call. I'll help you find an artist. It would look really great. Congratulations. It looks really good.
Corinne?
Hi, good evening. I had a couple of questions. First of all, I know you said you're submitting the photometric plan. I guess I'm just wondering, are you planning to add any exterior lighting out in that back deck area?
All the lighting we'll do will be like hidden on the underside of the deck itself or whatever. So we're not really planning anything, say, decorative that would shine off our property, but it'd be incorporated in underneath the canopy itself, whatever. So it just kind of shine down on the people that are using it.
And are you going to keep that the deck part there as well? And so you're just going to do a new canopy over the top of it?
But we're actually doing work right now, replacing all the concrete work that's back out there presently. That's kind of proceeding right at the moment. Then we are doing a new deck because it's up about 6 inches or so from where I'll say the riverside deck is. And there's a ramp going up to that. So there's a new deck going in that'll raise that up. And so we are doing new columns, new posts, new roof, kind of railings to the.
Okay. And, not being a member of the club, I don't know if members come only by boat or if you have members that also come by car to just hang out there. And so I guess I was just wondering, do you anticipate that there'll be more visitors coming and to use the parking lot after all your upgrades are done?
Is Mark still there? Maybe I'll let him address that, but hopefully, yes, this won't hurt our membership. But, a lot of people do come by boat, and there's the boat storage, in the yard area there also.
Great.
So we do have that parking to the side also. But Mark, are you still there?
Yeah, Jerry, I'm here. Yes, the membership for the Four Lakes Yacht Club is capped. We don't expect that to grow anytime soon. So the same traffic patterns, the same people coming and going as we have now will continue to still be there.
Okay, so you feel confident that your parking is still going to be sufficient after all your upgrades and your building will look so great?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know, Doug, were there any drainage issues that need to be addressed or that the city has taken a look at or thought about?
Not that I'm aware of on the site. I know obviously the street was reconstructed recently adjacent, but I'm not aware of any on the site themselves.
Okay. I just was thinking if they're doing any work out there and there was anything that needed to be done, if that was something that we needed to work into a condition, might be a good time to do that. And then as far as the landscaping, is there a chance to see that landscaping plan? Kind of like we did tonight for the WPS site, could we get a chance to see a landscaping plan as a condition of approval?
Well, most of the landscaping is existing, so it's there right now. So I suppose you could go out and inventory, or we can get some photos, whatever, of the landscaping there. But in the parking lot and along the fence there, that when as Doug mentioned, when the street was redone, that landscaping was already redone at that time. So, and then the other portion, which is kind of on the blank wall, there's some very tall shrubs kind of screening that wall itself, which we're going to maintain. I can probably track down some data on that, but we're not really looking to add landscaping in there. We will do some seasonal, like I'll say, large vases and pots or whatever, kind of at the porches themselves, that are something you kind of change with annuals and Christmas type of things or whatever. But the permanent landscaping is really all there.
I guess I was remembering you were saying that there were some ideas that you had for adding some additional elements at the last meeting. And so I didn't see anything in this packet with that information.
Actually, once I got a little smarter and realized that they'd replaced all the landscaping just not too long ago in the fence area, which is what I was really worried about. But there already was new landscaping there, and it was along the building that most of the things we talked about already been done. So we'll be more, I'll just try and bring in annuals, like again in the vases in the front door or whatever, to kind of create more of a change of seasons as the summer goes from spring to summer to fall in that area.
Okay, I think that would look nice.
Great. Anything else, Corinne?
Nope.
Okay, great. Brian?
No, it looks like the majority was covered previously on this one, and I like the addition of the third condition, and I'm good to go. Looks a great improvement.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Brian, would you like to make a motion tonight?
Sure, I'll move approval with conditions recommended by staff.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Abstain.
Tim, oh, sorry.
Abstain.
Yeah, we have 2 abstaining. Doug, you got those, right? Great. Everybody, congratulations, Four Lakes. We look forward to seeing progress. It's exciting.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to new business. Item number 6, a public hearing on the request by Paws Aquatic Center, LLC, care of John Gefke, for approval of a zoning permit for new use at 915 Femrite Drive, case number 2-005-2021. Who is here to present this evening?
I'm John Gefke. I guess I'm here to present for the aquatic facility.
Perfect. Thank you. Welcome, John.
Thank you. So I'm the applicant for this permit. It's the old Treasure Mart building on Femrite. I wrote a pretty detailed overview of both myself and my intended business. That was part of the application. I'll just hit on some of the highlights and address some of the concerns that I saw during this process. As background, I am a local business owner. I currently am the co-owner of Perennial Yoga and Meditation and Surya Cafe with locations in Fitchburg and Madison. But in addition to being a business owner, I'm also a dog owner and spent my entire life with dogs. And this past winter, I visited some aquatic facilities, some canine aquatic centers in Milwaukee and Appleton with my daughters and their dogs. And I really fell in love with the whole idea. So I did some research, and it turns out that indoor swimming facilities for dogs are a proven business model. These businesses are very successful, and they offer a great service to the community, from just simple fun to helping dogs recover from surgery or injuries. These facilities are very accessible for all dogs and all owners of all ages. Currently, there's only 5 facilities like this in Wisconsin and none within 60 miles of Madison. So I saw this as an opportunity for a new business. My specific business will be based around an indoor above ground pool, 16 by 32 feet. And it'll be used by dogs for recreation, fitness, and rehabilitation. It'll have a state-of-the-art saltwater system and UV filtration system. I'm also going to have about an 1,100 square foot indoor play area. Now, this facility is by appointment only. So you would go online on our website, sign up for an appointment, bring your dog in for maybe a 20 or 30-minute swim or play in the play zone, and then you leave. I would like to be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week, by appointment only. I expect to see somewhere around 10 to 15 visitors a day, very low traffic and plenty of parking on site, off street. In the future, when COVID makes it accessible, 1 to 2 times a week, I would like to have small gatherings or classes with up to 6 to 8 dogs at a time. All dogs outside of the building will always be on a leash and under the direct control of the owner. No dogs are ever left unattended. We are aware of some concerns about the noise of a facility like this and about barking dogs in general. And, I get it. I don't like barking dogs. But we do have the ability and the means to monitor and control the noise level within our facility. Again, we don't have any boarding, we don't have any daycare. These are private sessions by appointment only. Some of the improvements I'm going to make to the property, inside, I'll obviously be adding a pool, put up a few walls, improve the HVAC, electrical, and plumbing system to meet the needs of a facility like this. Outside, people would notice that I'm going to be adding a 10 by 12 overhead door on the west side, add a small passage door to the south side. We're going to make the north entrance ADA compliant. That's the one facing right. I will be putting up signs on the building. I don't have the design yet, so I'm not able to go through the permitting process yet for that. In general, I'd like to clean up the appearance of the building. It's looking a little long in the tooth, and it could be brightened up a little bit to sort of meet the aesthetics of the neighborhood. In general, I'll be doing some cleaning up of the landscaping, just again to improve the appearance of the building. It's kind of the overview. I did notice some comments in the staff report that I'd like to address. I will be obtaining all required permits and following all regulations for this building. I will get a sign permit when I have something to propose. I will work with the city works department and my own plumber to size a proper water meter if that's deemed necessary. Right now, I have no plan for a fence. It's just simply not needed in the back area. It's not part of my business model, but I understand if I ever need one, I would need a permit for that. It was mentioned that you might like to see a parking layout plan. I can do that if that's something that's deemed necessary. I saw that the Public Works Department had a couple of comments. I will make sure that the sidewalks are clear of snow. And I will take care of my own trash and recycling, and again, work with them to size a proper water meter if that's needed. So I thank you for your consideration on this matter, and I'm able to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak in the public hearing portion of this presentation tonight? Mary, please.
I'm on the board of the Conservancy Creek condos.
Okay, hang on. If you could just please state your name for us and your address.
My name is Mary Rathbun, and I live at 197 Chateau Lane.
Thank you.
And I'm on the board of the Conservancy Creek condos. And I got a couple of residents who asked me a question, and they seem to be under the impression that this water in the pool would have chemicals in it, and they were concerned about the water having to be changed, and that the environmental hazard to the creek and the environment around. I have no idea whether any of that is a valid concern, but I told them I would ask.
Thank you. Thank you. John, would you like to address that?
Well, I think everybody would be.
Since you've addressed other concerns during the public portion.
I think everybody would be concerned about that. And I think working with the Public Works Department, I mean, I don't think I'm reinventing the wheel here. We must have policies in Monona for discharging pool water. And I certainly don't want pool water affecting the creek. So do I have a plan for that? No, but I'm confident that working with the city, we can. I do know that I'm working with a pool management company to monitor the chemical usage in the pool, so that the idea is that things are closely balanced so that nothing gets out of whack. With technology these days, I'll have 24/7 monitoring of the system. So the saltwater chlorinization system is a way to reduce the amount of chemicals used in the pool. But discharging it has to be done in a safe manner. I agree with the residents of the condo association.
Great, thank you. Is anybody else here to appear during the public hearing portion on this particular proposal? Hearing none, we'll close the public. Yes, Doug?
I did receive a few written comments and one phone call that I'll just share with the commission at this time, if I may.
Okay.
Thank you. So the first was from Mr. Bob Gersbach, I think. He is at 169 Chateau Lane. And he had concerns with the noise of dogs, particularly at the time he thought that there may be overnight boarding, which it sounds like has been addressed, but that was the primary concern was some sort of boarding and the noise with that. Another was from Joe Anderson at 121 Chateau Lane, against the proposal with, again, noise concerns, concerns about evening and late night hours, as well as the chemicals in the pool and that impact on the adjacent creek. And again, the third comment was from Alice Hansen of 119 Chateau Lane, with concerns about the noise, the potential pool chemicals, as well as just general nuisance comments that may be the case. The latter two of these were email comments that were sent to the commission and included in the packet for the public record. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Doug. Okay. Hearing no others, I will close the public hearing portion. And public hearing and move to B, consideration of action on the request by Pause Aquatic Center LLC, John Gefke, for approval of a zoning permit of the new use of 915 Samurai Drive, case number 2-005-2021. Doug?
Thank you. I think the applicant addressed many of the comments that were already mentioned, and I thank him for his responsiveness and proactive nature to that. I would just call out a couple things. Again, I think it's been addressed, but just mentioning of any sort of outdoor dog run area, fencing would be required, and obviously that doesn't sound like it's in the plans. Parking, there was not a parking plan submitted. It sounds like by appointment only, and just with the number of stalls and the number of visitors, doesn't sound like it would be much of an issue. ADA stalls are being included. The parking layout plan was one suggestion. Also, the commission may choose to discuss if striping of the existing lot. Obviously, the ADA stalls will be designated, but potentially restriping may be suggested, may be discussed. Obviously, signage would be coming back from an additional review. And then again, just the comments from the Public Works Director, most of which I think pertain to the fact that the building has been vacant. But again, the applicant sounds like they're looking to address those. One thing I noticed, and I apologize, this was not included in the staff report, but just the zoning, the use and things like that. So it's CDD zoning, which was mentioned, but from the comp plan, the current land use was commercial, and then the future land use was always also envisioned as commercial. So I just wanted to call those elements out. And again, I apologize, those two pieces were not in the staff report. With that, staff recommends approval with conditions as laid out in the staff report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Brian Holmquist.
This is a wonderful project for this location. I have to say, I know many dog owners that were in search of this exact thing for their pets. So I'm excited for this project, not only because I think it's a needed thing in the area, but I think it's a perfect item for this location where we have concerns about what potentially could go in this site that could generate too much traffic, and at the same time wanting a business to succeed. And I think this strikes a balance of both pieces of it. I think it's a great plan. One question that I had, and it might be in the packet, and I just was too excited that this was kind of a project that I think just strikes a great balance for this location. But the overhead garage door, and it appears as if there's a van parked in there. Like, what's the purpose of that in the business plan?
For transporting the dogs, my personal dogs, so that if we go to other locations to check out other facilities or to sort of promote our local business, it's a non-commercial, really van. And quite frankly, the owner was willing to put an overhead door in. And so I jumped at the chance of doing it. Again, it minimizes the impact of having a van parked outside. Everything's inside and it doesn't look like a used car lot. So the building is big enough that it can handle a van parked inside. There's still plenty of room inside.
VIP parking. I like it.
Parking.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great addition, and some of the exterior kind of, minimal improvements I think are adequate based on the change in kind of use for the building. So I think it's a great project.
Great, thank you.
John, did you just cue your dogs by any chance?
They ran in and out. Yeah.
They started pouring in as we started discussing the project.
I'm used to it.
Yeah, great. Chrissy?
Yes, yeah, I agree. I think this is a really unique business, and I often joke that I think Monona has more dogs than residents, so I think it'll be really popular here. I am curious, are most of the dogs that you're serving elderly dogs?
It's great for the elderly. I mean, it's water, right? So aquatic hydrotherapy is really good for older dogs that walking is hard on their joints. Oftentimes dogs, they tend to put on a little weight as they get older, and that makes it harder to exercise. There's also this really neat balance between 5 minutes in a pool is equal to like 5 miles of walking. So somebody can get their dog that is maybe a little out of weight, needs some exercise, and 15, 20 minutes in the pool is just a tremendous amount of exercise for them.
Great. I was curious about, I saw that you're gonna clean up the lot a little bit, like the shrubs and some invasive species. I saw out front the landscaping. I mean, like you said, I think you were kind of generous that the building's long in the tooth. So there's a lot of room for improvement. I can see a lot of potential there. Are you gonna address the plantings in the front in any way?
Well, there'll be a balance between respecting our neighbors, not wanting to look at a metal pole building, and my income and ability to pay for improvements. If you're familiar with my other businesses, Perennial or Surya, that's kind of the feel that I want to have with this building. That level of integrity, that level of a calm, warm, inviting place that people in the neighborhood feel really proud of. That's a nice place. So yes, I would love to have beautiful landscaping, and that is eventually the plan. The plan was to clean up the back of it just so that it's a nicer place for people to walk. This facility really will cater to a lot of people whose dogs maybe have health needs. And so it's kind of a wellness center to bring your dog and just sort of calm down, relax, and enjoy the space.
I noticed when I drove in there, there's, I believe it's a honeysuckle that's really reaching out into the driveway.
Yes,
Maybe
right
that's-
as you go in the driveway, right?
Exactly. It's
Yeah, that needs to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'll be easy to pull out too, those
Yeah.
shallow
Yeah.
root.
Yeah.
And then, so I saw you're gonna have like a max of 4 dogs on the site.
Yes.
Okay, and would you say that, because I just want to address the noise concerns for the neighbors. Would you say that the elderly dogs or dogs that are health impaired bark less frequently, or are you doing any noise abatement, or what are your thoughts there?
Well, first of all, I respect boarding facilities and I respect daycare facilities. I really do. Oftentimes dogs bark because they are left alone, left unmonitored. Dogs rarely bark in the presence of their owner if they're in a calm environment. The barking that I see will take place is sort of an excitement of, hey, I want to play. Okay. As dog owners, as trainers, we have ways to sort of encourage alternative behavior so that it's easy to correct a dog that it's barking out of joy and happiness versus a dog that is barking because they are bored, lonely, sort of behaviorally agitated. And so many of the traditional reasons that dogs bark, I don't see happening at our facility because it's a different facility. Dogs are coming there to play and have fun. And so we can discourage playful, joyful barking pretty easily by redirecting it. So it's one of the comments in the packet, a neighbor had complained about one of the neighborhood dogs barking for 12 hours a day, outside. That's really unfortunate. And I would be bummed about it. That's just not this type of facility that we have. It just wouldn't occur at our place. So if any of the neighbors do have concerns about the barking, that we need to work those out.
I was wondering if it might be possible of you to get like a video, like if any of the other facilities that you visited have a promotional video. So, and then maybe you could send that link to the condo association so they could see that, because the 4 dogs sounded like they were going to be from the same household.
Yeah, they are. They're
not dogs that never met before, and
No.
So I was just thinking as a way to mitigate those concerns, maybe if you can find a video link and share that with them, that might.
Sure, I included the video links. There's some of the websites in the application packet. Unfortunately, most of the ones that you see are the dogs swimming in the water and chasing, chasing their toys, and it's hard to describe. Most dogs don't bark under the care of their owner when they're walking into the facility and they're going. you might hear a couple of yips when, hey, mom, I'm really excited to go get the ball. Then that's it. So it's not the type of incessant barking for hours and hours and hours at a time, or the barking that you would get from a pack of 4 dogs that don't know each other.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think I'm really excited about this. We have a lot of destination businesses here, and this really adds to kind of another unique piece of our destination business community. I think it's a really good use. So yeah, I really like your plan.
Excellent.
Thank you, Christine. Chris?
Yes. Okay. Again, I agree. I think it's a great business. I think it'll have some success here. I would like to talk about a few of the neighbors' concerns. I think they're all very easy to handle. Starting, I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to start. Number one, we need to stripe. You need to stripe your parking lot. That's required of any business in Monona, so people know where to park. It's a cheap thing to do, but that'd be a condition of approval. Say you restripe it. It's obvious when you drive in there, but you really, when we zoned it before, when we gave approval before, you're parking along the west side is meant to park in towards the building, because that way the people don't have to walk through the drive aisle. And then obviously the stuff up by the road parks towards Femrite. And that's one area where you're landscaping. And the last time we approved the use in there, it was a condition, it didn't happen. But you know, the evergreen shrubs you have in the front, they were originally placed there to screen headlights and such from Femrite Drive. So when cars are flipping in and out, they're not flashing headlights in somebody's windshield. If you go around the far east edge of that, a couple more missing. So that's something that needs to be replaced, is just get something in there to protect from headlights.
Okay.
You were gentle and Christy was gentle. Everybody knows me, I'm not quite as gentle. Your exterior is really tired. I mean, I think it'd be nice to have some type of a timeline when you think you can do something to it. And a lot of approvals we've done in the past, we've had conditions that, you know, you're going to do a refresh of the exterior and you have a certain time, what fits with your business plan, so you can get in there, make some money before you're investing too much money in the building. But the building needs some work on the facade. I mean, it's terribly faded, and it just, I'm not telling you what to do, but it needs something. So
yeah, I'm working with the landlord right now.
Okay, so I'd like your idea on what type of a time frame would be reasonable to get some exterior upgrade, whether it's just painting or the different look you're going to do, but something on there. I think you've addressed, for me, the problem with exterior dogs quite well, because we can just have a condition that talks about any dogs outside shall be leashed and in control of the handler, which is exactly what you said would happen. And I think that would mitigate any concerns of the neighborhood. The short time I was there today, I heard those dogs next door bark, bark, bark. And I understand the neighbor's concern after being there just for a few minutes, and that's what they hear. I don't see that being an issue with yours. And let's be honest, you've got the church, and then an outdoor dog park of the cities too. So I think those other two are going to create a lot more issues for the neighbors than your business. Waste, I think we just need something to talk about that you'll handle the waste, mitigate any odor or pollution potential. The pool water discharge, I don't know what normally happens, but I know this: you'll be paying a meter charge for any water you put in that pool. And in Monona, in most places, the meter charge also includes the sanitary sewer fee. They're done in one thing. So I suspect you would probably discharge that into the sanitary sewer.
That's what I planned on.
I don't know the answer, but I know you're paying the fee when you pay your water bill for also discharging the water that you use. So I would expect that, but we'll just talk about that as just legally disposed of, which I'm going to guess is just down your drain that goes into the sanitary sewer. Again, the neighbors have legitimate concerns about hours, and you stated 7 to 7. So I think we'll just put that in our approval that right now the hours are from 7 to 7. And as with the outdoor things, you always have the right. We all think this business is going to be great so far. I haven't heard everybody, but if it is really wildly successful, you always have the right to come back and say, hey, this is going so great, I want to modify a few things that weren't allowed in my original approval. And as you can see, most of the people here are pretty easy to work with, and we want our businesses to be successful while taking care of the residents and the neighbors, make sure we address their concerns. Waste, paint, only thing I haven't heard from you is what you think would be reasonable for doing something to the side of that building.
Let's see, how can I be as direct and,
direct is good.
I'm working with my landlord right now.
Mm-hmm.
If the landlord is willing to pay for paint, I can get it done right away. I do have a minimum that the exterior needs to be power washed and cleaned. Now, if you looked at the back of the building, you can see where some of the trees have been rubbing on the siding. Most of that discoloration is oxidation. The underneath of it is a fairly attractive blue. Now, at a minimum, power washing. I don't know if that's going to clean it up enough. I would like to see it painted. Now, what would you like to see? Because I need to go to the landlord then. What would you like to see as a timeline? Can we say would you give me till September?
I don't think that would be unreasonable. We've given 6 months for a lot of things in the past, just to let you get in there, get going. And sometimes, for us to say it shall be this, you're going to come up with different ideas along the way and say, wow, I've been here for a while. I know how I'm using it. It'd be kind of nice to do this or that. Christy will try to talk you into a mural. So, there's a lot of different options out there. And I'm not here trying to tell you it shall be this one, but something has to happen.
I agree.
Everybody else is a little afraid to say it, but something has to happen to that building. I don't want to use the U word, but it's unattractive. Well, that's another word.
No, it doesn't represent the type of client that I want to attract.
Bingo.
So,
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Corinne?
A lot of my comments are similar to what Chris said about the parking and the exterior. So I think it'll be great to have a new tenant in there and to have you taking care of the property. I think that'll be great. My one question, I guess, that's remaining is you talked about clearing up some of the landscaping or the brush, the trees in the back. Is that so you do have a place for the dogs to go to the bathroom before they enter the facility, or is that the intention, is to have just a little place to take care of nature's needs?
Yes, that's why I was putting the entrance door on the south end of the building. That would be sort of closest to the pool. So we want dogs to eliminate before. And then it's more of a private area. Nobody wants to stand on Femrite Drive, with their dogs. So the idea is to have that little private entrance out the back and just make it a little bit more attractive. There's a lot of invasives back there. There's a balance between clearing it out so that now all you see is other businesses versus just cleaning it up a little bit so somebody can walk their dog. And we'll have waste bags, biodegradable waste bags, and a waste station right there. So all of the waste will be disposed of properly. That's mandatory. We reserve the right to refuse service to customers who disrespect the area by not picking up after their dogs. It's vital. You just have to do it.
Okay. I was super excited to see this application too. I think it's a great use for that area. So looking forward to it.
Susan Fox?
I would agree. Brian summarized my thoughts completely. I think it's really a cool project as a dog owner myself. Although I don't know if mine's an avid swimmer, but I know dogs that love water really love water. And it's really nice to have that kind of facility. And I agree. I think the barking is just not going to be an issue, because I would agree with your comments about that as well. That when they're going to this kind of facility, that's just not something that happens. Waste, I kind of assumed as a responsible people who are making appointments to bring their dogs are going to clean up after the dogs. I just don't see any issues. The one thing the other comment I do agree with though is the need to paint the building. It really does it is a really more than tired looking building, and cleaning up the front more, and then adding, I'd paint the Femrite Drive side first, I guess, just to spruce it up. But yeah, I think otherwise I think it's great, and I don't have anything to add. So I think you've heard everything you need to hear.
Great, thank you. Rob?
I think Susan said it. You've heard everything you need to hear pretty much. All my concerns have been addressed for the most part, I think. So I too am excited. I think it's a great use of the space, and taking care of some of those site improvements would be great. But welcome to Monona. I think that's going to be a great project. So
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Josh?
Nothing more to add. Welcome to Monona.
Okay, great. John, I'm a big fan of perennial and Surya, and if just in terms of the overall beauty of the building, and I know it's in space and your attention to detail there, I have no doubt that this will be your as a business owner, your commitment to that high level of and I too think it's a great great addition, and so we look forward to it. With that, do I have a motion?
I'll move approval with conditions 1 through 4 as written by staff. Condition 5, that the exterior landscaping is refreshed and replaced where appropriate by September 15th of 2021 with final approval by staff. Condition 6, that the exterior of the building is refreshed by September 15th, 2021. Condition 7, that any dog waste is handled in a way to mitigate any odor or pollution issues. Condition 8, that any dogs outside of the building shall be leashed and in control of their handler. Condition 9, that the hours are limited to from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Condition 10, that any pool water discharge shall be controlled and legally disposed of. And condition 11, that the lot be restriped.
Anything else? We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
May I?
Yes.
Okay, for the applicant, this sounds like a lot of conditions. These are all things, a lot of them that you said are a no-brainer. I agree, but we've had some comments from the public, and I think there's a public record now that these issues are handled and they're a condition of your approval. If you feel there's anything in here that's unreasonable, you always have a chance to talk about it. I believe they're all reasonable things we talked about.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I think if I'm the general public looking back, I mean, obviously you have to dispose of that water legally, but since it's been brought up, we have a special condition of approval that says you have to do that. And when you violate a condition of your approval, you lose your zoning permit. So it gives it a little better teeth, but I don't think most of these things are anything that a normal person wouldn't reasonably expect. And Doug, I put staff approval on the replace and refresh exterior landscaping. The part where we need to get replacement would certainly be up on that east part of the north line where the cars are parking. Other than that, there's some refreshing. I think there's I don't know, Rob, there's a mulberry or something growing a spot where it should be growing right when you come in that first island on the left too, isn't there? A tree growing up there in the stump of some other old tree. I mean, it allows you some room, and you have to satisfy Doug. You don't have to come back here and talk to us, as pleasant as we are.
Great. Great. So we have a motion and a second. We do have a second, right? Who seconded? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, John. Welcome to Monona. We're excited to have
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. I hope you all can stop by with your dogs.
Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Finally, number C, a pre-hearing conference on the request by Populance LLC for the consideration of a zoning permit for new construction at 6501 Bridge Road. case number 2-006-2021. Who's here this evening to present on behalf of Populance?
Yeah, I am. Christopher Goss with Populance. And then I've got two other people here that are going to be listening in and commenting if needed.
Okay, great, thank you. Go ahead.
So Doug has some slides. I'm going to have to turn that over to him to get them up. And I'm going to run through these pretty quickly, just to give you guys just an overall view and what we're trying to accomplish here. So the site's at 6501 Bridge Road. That is the site of the current Monona Gardens restaurant. It's about a 1 acre site on the south side of Broadway. Next one, Douglas. So we met these guys probably last September, October. Nick, who's the owner, and his family. And he had made a comment that he wanted to do something with the site. He didn't really want to sell it to somebody who would put in a strip mall or a bank with a drive-through or something. He said he really wanted to take a look at this, pretty critically and come up with some ideas of what could really enhance his site, enhance the area, and just provide a quote legacy project for him. He's been in the restaurant business a long time, and he's ready to retire. And we spent a few months getting to know each other and coming up with some various ideas. And we'll get to it a little later in the presentation here. But as we're reacting and dealing with sort of a post-COVID environment, we had some ideas kind of come up to the surface, and we'll discuss some of those with you. But definitely when it started to take hold, probably December, January, we were thinking, hey, you know what, we do have an opportunity to do something pretty interesting on this site. Douglas, can we kick to the next one? Okay, so in our conversations internally and with Nick, we definitely have some concerns moving forward, as a group, and what the world's going to look like as we're coming out of this sort of COVID headache here. So we definitely have collected data on what people are looking for, how they want to live. But the undercurrent, which has been happening for years, is how do we address affordability and housing and the rental model? And it's just getting crazy. I mean, we all know this, and there's 100 different ways to try to solve the problem. We started approaching this last December, November, to say, hey, what's our total living cost? So if someone rents an apartment here, if it's a rental model, we're also thinking about an ownership model also. What are the costs that go into that? Well, there's a lot that goes into that. It's transportation, it's part of the housing, it's parking, it's utilities, all these things. So let's try to find a way to chip at that so we can find a reasonable, non-cost burden opportunity for people to live. So that's one of our goals that we're exploring here. The other one is we don't want to put up a wall. There's all that great landscaping behind on that WPS property. If it stays that way or if it changes, well, it's there now. So let's take advantage of it. Let's create some permeability from a pedestrian perspective, from a visibility perspective, to really make this an interesting site. And then, with that, if we take some of these ideas moving forward on this project, let's figure out a way to see if we can implement them on, potentially on other sites along Broadway as well. Douglas, we switch to the next one. So we definitely think, in discussion with the planning staff, that having a very strong and fluid ground level to really activate that corner, activate the sidewalk, bring some of that pedestrian activity down on Bridge Road and back behind. We're anticipating something's going to happen with that WPS site. We don't know what, but it's a great site, and we're confident there'll be activity there. So we do want to create sort of a gateway along Bridge Road to whatever happens back there, in addition to making this a marker to strengthen the corner as well. Next one, Douglas, please. So a lot of what we've been researching and hearing and getting feedback, work from home options. Okay, so just this morning I read another another survey that 30% of people working at home now said if they had to go back to the office, they would quit on the spot. So we want to bake in that flexibility and flexibility for using those spaces, opening them up, closing them, having potential live workspaces on the ground level, and then also exploring some ownership models for the commercial as well as the residential. And again, multi-generational, having those flexible spaces to, I think a lot of us think about multi-generational as just having a child or two there, but there's all different sorts of ways to, to cut that pie. Next one, Douglas. So here are the biggest concerns that we're finding that we're trying to address in our own way here. Return to office life. People are sick of traffic and the commute. There's still concern about proximity to others, social anxiety, accessibility. One of the funniest ones was people just don't want to clean their place when people start visiting them again. And then the threat of continuing illness. Next slide, Doug. So when we look at this, we have been vexed and we've been trying to contribute, in our own way to this affordability problem for a very long time. But, rent alone is not going to solve the problem. Subsidizing rent is not going to solve the problem. We really need to look at the entire picture. And that's what we've been trying to put into this. Transportation is a huge chunk, making this as energy efficient, utilizing some, either solar or highly energy efficient mechanical systems to lessen the burden on the people that are living there. And then time time is also a factor. If people are living at home and they have a flexible space, that increases their lifestyle and their choice of endeavors to pursue. And then also you might as well get a home office deduction, right? So if we can find a way to make that work, it all adds up to taking the overall cost of living or cost of residing somewhere down a little bit. Next one, Doug. So when we start looking at transportation, obviously there's always going to be a need. We're never going to get rid of cars, but the total cost of car ownership from an individual and a municipal level, it's substantial. We all know that. A lot of the trends, people are not going out and shopping. They're getting deliveries. Amazon's going crazy. We all know that. And then a lot of people are working from home. So, what can we do to just provide an option here? And what can we do that could be included in rent? And so we've been having a lot of conversations with, I think next slide, Doug, I think this is with Mobile 22. It's a guy that we met a couple of years ago, and he's based out of Madison, and he's working with a number of municipalities to convert their municipal fleets over to electric vehicles. And he's been working for the past couple of years about really combining a lot of these rideshare, car share, and micromobility programs into one. And we really, really like that idea in that there would always be transportation available through, one of those three. The the bike share obviously is weather dependent, but between car share and ride share, the way that they have the numbers and the math figured out, it really makes a lot of sense. And not only for a commuter, but also for if you just need to go to the grocery store or run to Target for something, there's the availability there, but it also lessens the burden of having everyone, the responsibility of car ownership for everyone. Let's switch to the next one. So what we're proposing here, preliminarily, or at least at a concept level, is we would have the third and fourth floors would be primarily living. We really want to make that ground floor permeable, active, have pathways through from the sidewalk on Broadway back to Bridge Road and beyond. There is some uncertainty with retail and office, and that's why we are exploring the ground level and the second levels being part of a live work concept. Now, could some of those be dedicated commercial? Absolutely. We're getting we're getting a lot of interest actually in commercial condos right now for different professional endeavors. And we are currently exploring this as both rental and ownership models for the commercial live workspace and some of the residential space. But right now we just want to be flexible with it. Yep. Sorry, go ahead, Doug, one more. So some of the feedback we're looking for on the site, you can see as we move from Broadway south, primary public access is sort of the aqua color. The rectangles and squares in there, that would be the live work or dedicated commercial. We would like to have opportunities for some of these shared transportation along Bridge Road. We would have underground parking, which would be accessed where the red dot is there. But the concept here is just to keep people moving through the site, exploring what's in there, having an opportunity to see what businesses are located in there and what kind of craftspeople have decided to set up shop in there. And then, make sure that the ground floor is accessible, welcoming, sheltered, just create a nice environment for everyone that's living there. We definitely have Broadway is not the most welcoming street to cross. And we understand that there are some features based on some staff comments across the street. And, we'd certainly like to work with Plan Commission and staff to find a way to, sort of maybe turn down the buzzsaw a little bit on Broadway if that's possible. Right, the next one, Douglas. So again, just to summarize here, a mix of uses, live work, commercial, office, retail, residential, and then of course emphasizing the public pathways and common areas. I think I have one more left here, I think. So if we're looking from Broadway, you see how the building would be broken up in section. Rental on the top 2 floors, commercial live work would be on the bottom 2, and then green is where we would emphasize and show public access through the site. So that's these slides are a little bit different than the packet that was submitted. I got into a little bit more of the zoning on that, but I think I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview, and we would really enjoy any thoughts or feedback you have on this as we move forward.
Thank you. Anyone else from your team that would like to speak before we open it up to the commission?
No, not me.
Okay, great. Thank you. With that, then we'll, Doug, did you have anything you wanted to say before we open it up to the commission?
No, I think really, as the applicant has mentioned, this is very early on in the concept phase and process, but in discussions that I've had with him and the team and the city administrator as well, I think we encourage them to come to the planning commission and kind of discuss some of these things. You know, I think high level it's zoning and land use. I think there's the massing, the design of the building, but I think also the parking and some of those elements that were discussed, as well as potential uses, particularly the ground floor, the live work units and things like that. So I think really just opening it up to discussion. Included quite a few talking points in the staff report, but I think really a less formal discussion would probably be most beneficial at this point.
Okay, great. Thank you. Josh, would you like to kick us off on this one?
Yes, if I can find my mute button. First off, hey, Chris, it's good to see you again. It's been a long time.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
I think this is a really cool project. I like the concept a lot. I like the idea of the extension of what we're seeing on, I guess that would be the north side of Broadway, continuing onto the south side. I'm intrigued with the concept of live work. I think that works well with the CDD, the comprehensive plan. I love that you're thinking about affordable housing. I'm interested in learning more on this Mobile 22 concept. I mean, I did a little bit of research on my own and just went out to their website, and I couldn't distinguish what they offer against what Uber and Lyft offers. In some ways, it looks like it's just a repetition of that. So are you suggesting that rideshare access would be included in rent? Is that what you're talking about there, Chris?
So that's how we're modeling it right now. And so what they're doing that Uber and Lyft doesn't is they're incorporating and coordinating their own community car programs with Madison Green Cab, which they also own, on a purely sustainable electric car basis. So they're building up a really interesting infrastructure. And yeah, I have to be completely honest. You know, a year ago I thought, it doesn't seem that interesting, but it really the way that they're executing this is really interesting. So and he has committed to come to the either if we have another sort of planning session or if we're at the next plan commission meeting, he definitely wants to be here to present. So he couldn't make it tonight, but he definitely wants to be part of this discussion.
Yeah, it's a challenging site, and so to meet our parking requirements, I think is next to impossible for a project like this. So I commend you for thinking creatively and outside the box. And I'll just share with the rest of the commission, you know, my work over at American Family, we're looking at what our future of work is. And, you know, as a Fortune 500 in this area, we recognize that people want greater flexibility. And with that greater flexibility, we're doing an awful lot of research. And I mean, we continue to give premium back to our customers because people are driving less. And, you know, my wife and I are having the conversation right now, do we need 2 cars? Because we both are likely going to be working from home a lot more than we ever have before in the past. So again, I just think it's a cool concept, and I like what you're thinking here, and look forward to hearing more, learning more. I love the massing, what you're proposing. I think it's cool. It's contemporary. It's hip, and it's just fun to see what could be on the other side of Broadway. Do we know who owns that land just on the south side of, what street is that? Is it? I guess it's a continuation of Broadway as it wraps around the building. That's not public land, correct? The wooded lot there?
That's part of that WPS site.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Those are just some of my initial reactions.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Sue Fox.
I think it has a lot of potential too. I think the structure you're talking about would fit in nicely with what's going on across the street from it, as well as the current the parking makes me a little nervous. I mean, I like the idea of rideshare. It makes me nervous to think of this kind of density without sufficient parking. I have to think more about that. Because I saw some mention of parking on Bridge Road, and while that's true, not on Bridge Road, but on that, is that angle behind it, Chris? Yeah. I'm not sure how much you'd want to have to rely on that. So the live workspaces, can you say a little more about what you're envisioning with that that's different from a regular condo or apartment, or are you just using that term to mean that you're not sure whether they'll be commercial versus, I'm not sure what you're thinking of for that on the lower floors.
Okay, so on I guess the traditional definition of live work would be you would have an office space or retail space on the first floor, and then a live space above it. So it would all be part of the same condo unit.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
But it would be by the same owner, and you just walk downstairs,
right,
do your thing, and then go back upstairs to.
Yeah, so it's a little different than just working out of your place, which you might be doing too. Yeah, and I think some combination of affordable housing in there would make some sense as well. I guess the parking and transportation piece. I mean, there is a bus line right across the street. I believe there's a bus shelter. But in terms of in and out groceries, that kind of stuff, I'd have to, I guess, hear more about that transportation piece. Because otherwise, the parking's probably my main concern. Visually, in terms of the height, I think it's okay for that site, given what's around it, and it looks like a good fit in that way. So I'll listen to what other people have to say.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Great, thank you, Christy.
Yeah, I really appreciate the forward thinking concept. I think we know that younger people aren't even taking lessons on driving and they're not even planning on buying cars. That is happening. I know, I feel like this attracts a new type of tenant, and I really like that. I feel like it's a nice contrast with kind of our more traditional development like Yahara Terrace and the Current. It's something different. I know there are trends across the country to reduce parking, and I like that helps keep the cost down. I think that's smart, and it works really well on this site because of the high frequency transit there. So the Route 16 bus, Madison Metro, picks up every half hour. It's every half hour on the weekday, and it's every hour on the weekend. And so I think that it's the ideal site, I feel like, for this, if we were going to try something really different. I really like the live work piece because that is definitely happening. I think, as Susan said, the challenge of possibly parking either on Bridge or on Engel, that could be a challenge. I think since the WPS property is kind of up in the air, it could be a great time to take advantage of that. And then whatever happens there, people will be used to parking if we go with that. But yeah, I think the concept is, I'm really excited about this one. Thanks for bringing it to Monona.
Great, thank you. Chris.
I think the concept is very intriguing. I think the problem is we're putting 100,000 square foot of building on a lot that can't support it for the parking. And I feel like we're poking our head down the rabbit hole that we just finally got dug out of. And most of us were here for the Yahara Terrace start and the Current one. And we had a lot of the same arguments that people weren't going to drive and people don't need their cars. And we have all these intermixed uses and the commercial versus apartment and coordinating that. And we asked for more parking. And the developer came back and said, we've got it now. I said, no, there's not enough. We need more parking. And then he looked at it again. And then in addition, as a city, if you remember, we added angled parking. We increased the parking on all the streets there. And the developer came back and said, well, I'm sure I have enough parking now. And we said, well, we're not sure. So he agreed to reserve where the hotel is now as the temporary parking lot, right? And we all felt pretty comfortable. Then the hotel came along as an opportunity. It was going to be an office park. And we said, okay, great. And he says, now I know I have enough parking. He said, we don't feel like you have enough parking and you need more. So he went to the bank, he got a joint parking agreement with the bank, and he actually added stalls onto the bank's property. Said, I'm confident I have enough parking now. And as a commission, we said, we're not confident. So he agreed that when he did phase 2, which is now phase 3, the current that's under construction, that we can look at the parking one more time and see how it goes. And all of us have been around Monona long enough to know that it was a parking nightmare there. And it was really, really hard. And the people, I'm going to back up. This isn't downtown Madison where people just take a car and they walk to everything. There's some amenities there. Granted, there's some nice restaurants, a little bit of commercial, especially at the current one, but it's not where you can walk for all your needs. And people in this area need a car. And it's been demonstrated to us by the current where they told us that we won't need it. And at the end, as a city, we made an agreement with the developer on the current too to include a substantial amount of public parking in there because we knew we were short of parking within that development. So I'm saying all this because to me, the biggest thing I'm worried about is parking. And if you don't have enough parking, your project's going to fail. I don't believe the people that live there that every 5 of them can be served by 1 car. Now, I might be proved wrong, but our recent experience right kitty corner showed that the parking needs are still, at least right now, they're still there. And we struggled 30, 40 years ago. We zoned a lot of buildings that were too big for the property on Monona Drive. In the last 30 years, we've been struggling with cleaning those sites up where they had enough parking because the use that was originally there might have been more of a warehousing. They only needed 5 employees, but now you've got on Monona Drive, 20,000 square foot of building with 8 stalls and it doesn't work. So I'm not saying this doesn't work. I'm saying it appears to have too much building to be able to support it with the parking. Angle Street, it's like, I can't remember, it's a 36 or a 40. And I don't know why they ever did it, but they have, as you exit WPS campus, and there will be people coming and going from there. That was built for major traffic. But I don't understand why there's 2 lanes when you exit, and one is to go straight, where we've got basically a daycare in Joe DiMaggio. And after that, it became wetlands, so no further building went on. Originally, the planning was there's going to be a lot more building there. So I don't think it's unreasonable to think that Public Works could perhaps allow parking on that side of the road and do away with that left through lane, but you're still only talking, what, 15, 20 cars. We need to really look at what the parking needs are. Number 1 for me, this is existing and future land use plan is commercial. I love the fact that we can integrate commercial and residential. I think that's great. I'm old enough where I remember when CDD zoning in Monona actually meant commercial design district. But then when we did some rezoning, we said, well, we're going to allow some housing as an accessory use. So let's not call it commercial anymore. Let's say CDD really means community design district. So we changed the name of it. But it's still, this is a key commercial corner for us. That's a very busy intersection. Every building around that in its area has at least first floor commercial. So I think it's important that we maintain that. Now, the work live, I think is intriguing as long as we can assure that it doesn't become what somebody else referred to as just, well, this is my house and this is my den downstairs and nobody's ever going to come and it's going to be pretty well draped off. It's not really commercial. It doesn't attract people in there. So one of the points that affects me is I think commercial condos and commercial rental are both very much needed, and it's not going to be as much retail. We all know that there could be some, but there will be professional offices, there will be other offices, insurance, a lot of people that need it. So I think it's great. I love the theory or the design of being able to see through it and have a plaza that's really has almost that deck on top where the other things are, so you can walk out of the elements and probably create a really inviting space. But I'm worried about this commercial. Where are they going to park when they come and want to use this commercial? There's only 55 stalls for 55 units. What are we going to do? Are some units you don't get a stall and you can't park and you can't have visitors? To me, it all goes back to this thing is such a big building on such a small lot. We're struggling with parking. So I'd like to know and think about how we can fix a parking problem, because for me, this is going right down the same rabbit hole we just dug out of at the current. couple just observations. I can't tell exactly, but it appears that you're proposing building into or overhanging the street and the right of way along angle in a few spots. Is that correct?
No, that's just that was. These are very preliminary, and it's just
Okay,
the,
well,
the way
you know,
the thing printed out. So no, it's not.
yeah,
It's not.
you know the drawing I'm referring to then, where it
Yeah, I
actually
do.
shows into the pavement. Okay. Another thing I'm sure you've looked at, but there's electric lines that come across the back end of this property and some substantial guys that actually cut across the property that I don't know what it would take, but it'd be a substantial relocation. That's a major line. So that's something to look at and think about when you're looking at your building massing.
Yep, we've started exploring that also.
Okay, of course, you seem very thorough. I should just assume that. As far as building materials, have you given any thought to building materials?
Not at this point. We wanted to get feedback from you guys
Sure.
in general, and then we'll keep working through.
In general, some substantial masonry component is nice. If you look at virtually all the buildings in the area, they have some element of that. I like to see what you have for green space. Obviously, sidewalks, pedestrian, bike connections will all be important, but I'm sure you're looking at that too. So for me, really, I'm very intrigued by it. I think the concept of the old-fashioned shop owner that lives above his shop, I think is awesome. As long as we have some way to ensure that it stays a commercial area, at least on that ground floor. I think that's important to maintain that commercial presence as well as for our taxes. I think that's it. I really like it other than our parking issue. And to me, it's a big issue, the parking. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Corinne.
Hi. I also think this is a really neat, interesting project. And I actually really appreciated that you started the presentation with talking about how you had talked to the owner of Monona Garden. You know, I agree, well-deserved retirement, but I'm gonna definitely miss, especially the hot chocolate with all the whipped cream, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. You have in here your timeline is summer 2021, but it seems like there's a lot of details to work out. Is that you're just throwing that out there as a starting point?
Summer goes till September, technically, right? So
okay,
you know, or maybe I should put question mark 2021.
Okay, because I think the site has a lot of. It has not only the bus line, but it also it's connected to the bike route and, or, really close. And I'm wondering, I know it's not really relevant necessarily to your specific site, but WPS is parceling off that parcel that has that parking structure on it. And, I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't think any of us know what's going to happen there, but it does seem like I hear Chris's parking concerns, but I also wonder if with some of the other transportation options that are available, maybe it wouldn't be as big of an issue. I also was wondering about, like the daycare center would be closed in the evening. It's not open past probably 6 p.m. I don't know what their hours actually are, but like maybe there would be an opportunity to do some cross parking over in that area as well in the evenings. So it seems like there could be some ways to work through those parking issues that might exist, because I think Chris is right. If you have residents living there, they're going to want to have friends come and visit, and they might not be able to take the bus, or it might be winter and they might not want to take their bicycle or whatever. So having an opportunity for people to bring visitors to them, and if they have a business there, I think will be really important. I was just wondering if with your past projects, do you have any experience? It sounded like it's a new concept for you to think about the shared mobility. And I was just wondering, so this would be something that you've never done before?
So we've definitely looked at community cars as a solution. There's been, a fair amount of success, but there just hasn't really been that much commitment. On the part of the people that we've worked with in the past. There has definitely been a swing, I would say, over the past 12 to 14 months to take another stab at these community cars. But then what Shri is doing with Mobile 22 is really integrating the green cab, the ride share, and the community car. And he's a much more eloquent explainer of this concept than I am. But essentially what we're doing here is it's interesting you mentioned across the street, because at that daycare, okay, so 16 hours a day, you have asphalt just sitting there, right? Nobody's using it. You have all these cars just sitting there, for these residents that are living at home. Well, they might need to go to the grocery store or make a 20-minute trip every day and a 2-hour trip every week. That kind of usage is just really inefficient. And what we're trying to solve here is, well, let's make transportation as an on-demand issue. So short question, no, we haven't used Mobile 22. There are other projects in Madison, on the east side of Madison, that are further along than we are. And obviously we're watching them very closely to see how those get executed and implemented. Again, there are municipalities that are converting over to a type of model like this for the community and shared for their municipal workers. So these are all things that have really been gaining steam probably in the last 10 to 14 months. And this was not driven by the site and the parking or the size of the building. This was driven by we're trying to get the overall cost of someone to live lower. And this is one of our strategies, is to take a look at the transportation. And we identified it is on a bus line, it is on a bike path, and there are all these opportunities here that this is positioned so well to take advantage of. Why not add this to it, right? And we're not proposing eliminating 100% of the parking, right? We're proposing to eliminate a percentage of it, but then to include that as part of an amenity package, right? So if you decide to live here, you get a community car and you get ride share. That's just the benefit of living here. So you can forego that car ownership. You can save your $780 a month, and in return, you have access to a vehicle and mobility as long as you live there. So I understand that sort of the traditional model of having 1.5 spaces per one bedroom. We understand that, and we don't think that we're not trying to destroy that. What we're trying to do is throw out a solution. I mean, I don't know what happened across the street, but I don't know the whole specifics of that. But what we're trying to do is throw out an option for you guys to look at, as well as us. I mean, we have to be convinced of this also, and throw out a solution and say, hey, you know what? We really think this could work. This is what we're offering as an amenity. This is what we're doing to lower the overall cost of living in this project. And we want to build a model from that moving forward. So it's a long-winded answer, but I hope that helps a little bit.
No, that was a really good answer, I think, at least for me, because, thinking about some of the goals that we've laid out in our comprehensive plan, we do have, one of our goals is to think about creative housing solutions. And if there was ever a creative housing solution, I mean, I think this project just kind of exemplifies that. So, how it would work, it sounds like there's a lot of, you're watching some things and a lot of consideration to be put into that. But I like the concept. And we are in a different world. I mean, like Josh, we also have 2 cars, but maybe we don't need 2 cars. And I think there might be people that are looking to continue to work from home and they just aren't going to need that car as frequently. So having access just on demand, like Netflix, they can, whenever they want to take a drive, they have that option, but they don't need it every day. So we're kind of in a brave new world here, I think. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what you come back with.
If I could jump in, excuse me, for just a minute. Chris made a good point. This isn't like this site isn't something that's driving it. It's the current trends that are driving these thoughts. And even single family neighborhoods in some parts of the country, probably more so in Europe because America's a little slow in the uptake. Even single family neighborhoods are starting to talk about and think about and do rideshare programs simply to lower cost of living, to help the environment. There's a lot of benefits to these type of programs, not just eliminating parking and lowering cost of living, but also environmental impacts and many, many other benefits. And Josh and Corrine made both made great points. Everybody's thinking, do we need two cars now? And that's a trend that's going to continue for a while. Cars get more and more expensive, and there's more and more opportunity to reduce overall cost of living.
Can I just make one more point here? Is that when we do model some of these users that might be here, let's say we could have a young couple who is buying an affordable condo or living in one of these units here. Let's just say the wife works. So they have one car. The wife works during the day, out at Epic, and the dad is home. Well, they might not be able to afford two cars, and this is why we thought that this was so critical to give people an opportunity not to have the car ownership, but to have the opportunity to take advantage of moving around the city, right? Moving around Monona, Fitchburg, Madison. These are the opportunities that we can present to them through this program that again would be an amenity of living there, which and like you said, we are watching these get implemented, and if something goes haywire or it's not working the way that we think it will, you guys will be the first to know, because we're not gonna we don't want to do something that we don't believe in or don't believe has a great chance of success. And we can always modify things, but based on the information and the data that we have now, we think it's an incredibly good solution. So, and we're still pursuing it.
Okay, thank you. Rob?
Okay. First off, yeah, I'm super intrigued by the project. From the information we have now, the concept development is super interesting, and it's super different. And this isn't traditional development as we're used to seeing it. And it's something unique. It reminds me of something you'd walk around Copenhagen and see, kind of this transparent building. So the concept of it, of the design, I love. The parking is going to be an issue. It always is. It's the name of the game here at Plan Commission. We always look at parking, but I'm not discouraged by it necessarily. More motivated to solve the issue. And granted, you want, as a commercial business, you want someplace to park, and it's not as Chris was saying, you don't walk. It's not downtown Madison, but it's not downtown New Glarus either. We have phase 3 of the Triangle development going in right now. We have the current that went up with housing, Yahara Terrace, I think it's called now. That went in a few years ago. Like, density in that area is going up, and it's going up really quickly in the last, 6-8 years. So it's not downtown Madison, not at all, but the density in that area is undeniable. And the development's going across the street. That's Madison, but still part of the same area. It's changing down there for sure. So I might bounce around a little bit here, but I'm really interested in hearing Shree's presentation if he's going to come and present to us. that'd be really interesting to get more information of his program and how it runs, some case study information. I'm looking forward to that because that could be part of the solution when we talk about parking, transit, how to create successful commercial spaces. So I'm glad that he's on board with coming to talk to us. And you're looking at a rental model and a ownership model. Is the demand for the rental model is strong with, I mean, we just put up, like I said, a lot of rental properties in that area. And to me, the ownership model sounds more interesting, but I know it has to work for all parties. Can you speak to that a little bit?
So all of the information that we have right now points directly to a very, very strange housing market right now. We're still seeing a lot of strength in the rental market. We're seeing a lot of very frustrated people who cannot find anything to buy. Whether it's a reasonably priced condo in a townhouse type situation or a multifamily building. So I would say that probably within the next 30 days or so, we would probably get an indication of which way we would want to go. And that, and that could also affect the number of units also, which would then affect, the overall parking situation. But we're, from a lender perspective, they're still seeing strength in the rental market. From our perspective, it's why not put a product out there that would give people would give people a choice. I think that there's demand for both, and we're empathetic to both ways of looking at this.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Appreciate that answer. I think all my other comments you touched on, so I'll leave it at that for now. Yeah, it's a neat project. So I'm looking forward to see how it progresses, if it progresses. I know there's a lot of question marks. I'm glad you came early to get the feedback, help you make a decision too. So thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, thanks. So zoning and land use, I think it's a great spot. I know I love Chris's comment of how CDD has changed its name over time. And the reason I think it's a good use for this spot is not only the kitty corner of the triangle project, but also directly across that Rob mentioned with the Madison properties over there. When it comes to parking, clearly that is the issue of the hour, and it will be the issue of 2 hours if you come back. I guarantee it. So whatever the parking solution is, we're gonna need to truly understand it. I remember our discussions with Tresta, with the riverfront, with other properties, and we had lots of people promising us things regarding shared vehicles. One bedrooms don't need that many cars. We've had everything promised to us, and it doesn't pan out. So we're going to need to be convinced of how is it that this program is different, and how are we actually moving forward. And we can get some commitment around the parking aspect before we can really bend on that piece of it. I'm concerned.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Yeah, so have those other projects, have they actually implemented a car sharing program or a community car program?
You know, that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask Doug after this meeting was to look back at some of our prior projects and like what were some of the commitments that may not have been in the writings, but at least some loose, hey, we're going to try this concept and see where they panned out. Because as everybody said, this is intriguing, and at the same time, I don't want to commit to something and then have it fail for you and fail for the city. So.
Yeah, and we don't want that either. And I will say that I have had experience with development groups who have committed to a community car program only after the building is open to have the community car people say, nah, there's not enough density here where we really don't want to do it. So, yeah. So that's why the infrastructure would also, we would be actually investing in the infrastructure for the cars, right? So we would own we would own the cars that would be serving this project. So I just want to make sure that there are a lot of variables trying to get outside people to cooperate with some of these projects. So yeah, it's always a tough one, and we all know this, and we've been through this on 100 projects all over the area. But again, we're not, I just want to emphasize, we're not coming in and saying nobody's ever going to drive again, forget it. We're so much smarter than everybody. We just want to take just a little piece out of this and say, hey guys, I really think this could work. Let's try to figure out if it does, and let's come up with a plan B, right? As long as we're working on it. If it does fail 5 years down the road, let's have a plan in place to compensate for that.
Yeah, perfect. Let's see. Let's cover. If I remember right, there was an issue with development and green space, 30% issue. And just want to make sure that that's kind of on your radar. So normally we're looking at 30%, and granted this location, there might be some other offsets that come about, but just pointing that out. Other than that, I think everybody else covered all the other topics, and I'm good to go from there.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Did I get everybody? Just want to make sure that everybody had their say this evening. I would just add that I also find it to be an exciting project, and as Brian said, as to not spend 2 hours in parking the next time, it would be I think we would all welcome, as you indicated, having more concrete information on the first of all on the what you're proposing, the concrete proposing for the car sharing, number one, and number two, I would have a plan B. I mean, I think all of us would hate to dismiss this or turn this kind of a project away. Generally speaking, of course, there's lots of specifics here, but I would think that all of us would feel like it would be a drag to turn a project away just because of that issue. And so I'm just encouraging you to be proactive with a plan B, because you've heard loud and clear tonight that's going to be an issue, and that's because of our experience. So otherwise, I thank you for coming tonight, and I thank you for such a forward-thinking proposal. And unless you have anything else for us tonight, I think that we've provided the few. Yes, Chris.
If I could ask one more question, just for clarity for me. I've heard a lot of people tonight speak about paring down to one car, which I get. But if I'm looking at this right as proposed tonight, you would need a substantial number of tenants to commit to 0 cars for this to work with the parking as proposed, correct? So let's throw numbers out. So you still you have 55 stalls and 55 units, you need maybe 20 to commit that we won't have a car, so that you have room for the commercial businesses, for visitors, and for visitors of all the residences. I mean, I just threw a wild number out there, but you would need people that commit, I'm not going to have a car, period, correct?
So we were looking at somewhere between 15 to 15 to 20, somewhere in that range, maybe a little bit less.
Hold on there pretty well.
Yep. But then those people, they would be, as part of their lease. That's where they would have the commitment to the program.
Understood. I just want to make sure I'm clear that you're talking about people. You will have residents that commit, I won't have a vehicle on site.
Correct. They would not be allowed to have a vehicle on site of their own. Yes.
Okay. So I mean, there'd be some mechanism to make sure there's some parking available always for visitors and commercial users.
Yes, and what we wanted to do was just was to get your feedback tonight. We're going to put everything back in the blender. We're going to come up with some more solutions, and then keep kicking things out here. So
just make sure I was clear on it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, it had to do with, so Chris indicating like some people would say that they have 0 cars. If I mean, this is the 2-hour parking conversation that we're going to have someday. And it has to do with like the the 1 bedrooms having 1.5 cars. And if they go back to 1 car, what does that change? And yeah, so I agree. That's a great concept. And how do we build that into the final thing? Looking forward to it. I got kids and arguing in the other room, so.
Well,
thank you, Susan.
And I think if the person can come in and talk, so we get a more clear picture of how the car sharing works. And also just if there are some examples where it's worked in this kind of locale, as opposed to like, it's easy for me to see when you're closer to an urban center or in a city. This is sort of in between, and I think what's making a lot of us nervous is that it may well be the way of the future, but since we're not there yet, we can't see it. I'm just wondering if there are some examples of where it's working. And you mentioned some of the places on the east side of Madison are trying some of this. And even if you get some, conversation with some of them for just how it's working so far.
Yeah,
it feels like a leap of faith, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I totally understand that. And so the projects that are being executed right now are in a sort of a medium to low density area on the east side of Madison. So it's obviously it's different than here, but it's a similar sort of demographic and a similar sort of density and car driven area. It's definitely not in downtown, which I guess just to be very frank, I would have thought that the community car programs would be great downtown, but people are just not doing. They're just giving up their cars and not even really driving. So it's all these weird dynamics that we're chasing and trying to find the best solution. And nobody can predict the future, but we do think that we have a couple options here that we'd like to keep talking to you guys about.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Well, Christy?
Yeah. I just, I think this is really going to select a different type of tenant. And I know, there are people, a lot of people take Uber, and I feel like a lot of these residents, if they were going to have friends come over, they'd probably just say, take an Uber or a Lyft, you're coming to my place. And they might understand that. I know quite a few people who drive cabs, and a lot of the Epic employees, they wouldn't even know how to get to their houses, they've told me, because they've never driven, and they don't even know where they're going. They just hop in the car and say, take me to this address, and they use their phone. And so I think it's just, that is happening. And so Like we said, it's very forward thinking. I think we could do it. I think it could really work here. You have those options like the daycare across the street. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the big problem across the street at the current was that Buck and Honey's was wildly successful and like superseded everyone's ideas on how successful that would be. And that's what blew up the parking there. And you don't have that situation here. You have these work live units, which I think you said might be a realtor or an insurance office or, so I think that's a big difference. And I think it's a valid point.
Can I just make one more point here? Just sort of a general point, because when, in the past, when we've looked at community cars or some of these, Uber and Lyft, and, we had an idea a few years ago, we'll just give, everybody a $200 credit to, for Uber every month, or, bake that into the rent. Well, I always get stuck up on, what if somebody has to commute to work? That's work. You're going to go through that in a week, right? So what's the point of even doing these if you have that 20 minutes or half an hour every morning and every afternoon, right? So what's the point of doing these programs? Because it's not going to solve that problem. And Shri will explain this to you. And again, I wish you were here, but he's got the two sides of the dumbbell and how he has been able to organize the uses as a commuter, the uses as evening routes, and I'm just really looking forward to you guys talking to him, because all of these things that I was trying to shoot him down over the last 2 months, he has figured out. He's a much smarter guy than I am here, so that's another reason why we're pretty excited about presenting this to you guys as an option. So so if he has actually solved what our biggest hurdle, which are the commuters, and he can solve it to our satisfaction, and we think it's good moving forward, then we'd really like to get your feedback on that as well. So
great. Well, I appreciate that. And again, we look forward to meeting him and learning more specifically about that, and learning more specifically about what Plan B might be, if that's something that we can't swallow, as opposed to waiting for failure before we, because we probably, it's just the reality. I think hopefully you can tell we love the idea, we love the concept, but we have, as Chris said, we've been down this what did you call it? A rat hole, Chris?
Rabbit hole.
Rabbit hole.
Thank you. Wonderland.
Rabbit hole. Yeah, we've been through this rabbit hole before, and and I was one of the people even over on the riverfront. I remember saying exactly what you've heard a lot. I know a lot of other people said too. Oh well, if you build a parking lot, they'll drive. We don't need. If we don't have as much parking, people will get used to it and they'll start using their bikes and they'll start walking. And the reality is, people immediately started complaining about not being able to get parking, and it being a problem. So, and not just there, over at Lotus too. So anyway, we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much for bringing such a cool concept to us. And thank you for taking the time tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, number 7, reports of staff and commission members. Staff report.
Thank you. So a couple updates here on the economic development side. The scheduling for the sort of listening sessions with MESBA is ongoing. We're going to try and do kind of one-on-one meetings there to kind of hear comments, how the city can be more effective, things that we can do to assist, and how we can maybe partner with MESBA as well on that. So we would really like to do those face-to-face. So just trying to think how timing looks on those things, and where the world will be in the next few months. But know that is underway. And then a couple members of city staff also met with the development team, looking to potentially put an application forward for the Shopco, the former Shopco building. So we're expecting another proposal probably pretty soon here. Again, we'll do a pre-hearing in advance. And so I've shared some feedback. They're going to go back and sort of rework a few things, and then I'm expecting a formal submittal pretty soon here. So something else is kind of in the works there for that. In terms of the upcoming Plan Commission items, I have a couple things for the second meeting here in March. There's an application for the property over on 6950 Gisholt. So it will be a commercial use. It is more of an industrial space at this time. So it would be for a pre-hearing. They'd be coming through for that with the view to probably sometime in April or early May coming through for the formal hearing. So I received that application. So they'll be on for the second meeting. And we'll also have the Pick and Save at Pier 37. They're looking to do some new signage. There's a rebranding of the store. So the signage as proposed, there is a comprehensive sign plan there, but there'd be some changes that need to be made to that. So they'll be coming through for a potential revision to the CSP there as well. And then the only other thing that's upcoming, I'm working with the sign team over at the current two on the sort of signage that they're thinking about, coupled with the feature wall as well that would be facing Grand Crossing Park. So that's not at the next meeting, but it's sort of in the works as well. Probably, late spring, I would imagine that would be coming through as well.
Okay.
So plenty still going on.
Yeah, so we're while you anticipate the Shopko thing, we don't at this point, it wouldn't be on this 22nd, and so at the earliest we'd probably see it on April 12th.
That would be my expectation, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions, comments from the Plan Commission members for Doug before we adjourn? Thank you all. Adjournment. Who would like to make a motion to adjourn?
Oh, yeah, I'll move adjournment.
Okay, Josh. Robbie?
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Okay. Got a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.